All right, so we're going to take notes on 4.2. We are still graphing quadratics, but the only difference is now we're in standard form. Before we were doing it in vertex form, so it's just a little bit different. Bless you. But we're still graphing quadratics, so it's still going to be that parabola shape. So example 1, what is the vertex? So our vertex is at either the lowest point or the highest point. So our vertex would be here. What point is that? 0 what?
-4.
0, -4. Awesome. And then our axis of symmetry is the dotted line that goes right through our vertex. So what's our axis of symmetry here? Awesome. X equals -4. And then is our vertex at the max? Oh, it's actually x equals 0, because remember it's the first number. X equals 0. Now is our vertex at the maximum or minimum? It's at the minimum, so we have a minimum, and the minimum is always our y value. So what's our minimum value here? -4. All right, example 2. What is our vertex? 3, 1. What's our axis of symmetry? X equals 3, because it's always your x. It's the dotted line that goes right down the middle, so it's just our x. And then do we have a maximum or minimum at our vertex here? A minimum, and what's our minimum value? 1. All right, so our standard form is this equation here. We have a times x squared plus b times x plus c. So the a is whatever's in front of our x squared term. The b is whatever's in front of our x, and then the c is just the constant number at the end. So the c doesn't have an x attached to it. So when our equation is in vertex form, or when it's in standard form, we find our axis of symmetry using this formula. So when it's in vertex form, we can clearly see what our vertex is. When it's in standard form, we have to plug it into a formula to be able to find it. So we find our axis of symmetry using x is equal to -b over 2a. And our b comes from what's in front of the x, and our a comes from what's in front of the x squared. So we just plug in our a and b into this formula. -b over 2a. Then to find the vertex, the x is going to be the same thing as our axis of symmetry, so it's that formula, -b over 2a. And then to find the y, we plug in whatever we got for x. So you plug in the x into the equation. All right, so we have to find the vertex and axis of symmetry. So it's in standard form, so we have to use that formula. So we have -b over 2a. What's our a here? 1. Awesome. A is what's in front of the x squared, and when there's nothing there, it's 1. And what's our b? 2. 2 is what's in front of the x, so that would be 2. So to find our axis of symmetry, it's helpful to do that one first. It's x is equal to -b over 2a. So we have -1 over 2 times -2, b is 2. So -2 over 2 times 1. So this would be -2 over 2. And what does this simplify to? -1. So our axis of symmetry is x is equal to -1. Now for our vertex, -1 is going to be the first number. How can we find the second? Plug in -1. So we're going to plug it into all of our x's in our equation here. So we have -1 squared plus 2 times -1 plus 3. And then we just have to solve. What is negative 1 squared? 1. What's 2 times negative 1? Negative 2. So we have 1 minus 2 plus 3. What's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. And negative 1 plus 3? 2. So we plugged in negative 1 and got 2. So this is our vertex. So I have negative 2 over 2 times negative 2. So negative 2, what's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4. How can I simplify negative 2 over negative 4? What's negative divided by a negative? So positive 1/2. So x is equal to 1/2 is my axis of symmetry when Marina comes back. So what's the first number in my vertex? 1/2. How do I find the second number? Plug in 1/2. So I have negative 2 times 1/2 squared plus 2 times 1/2 minus 5. What do I have to do first? The exponent. So what is 1/2 times 1/2? So remember, you multiply straight across when you multiply fractions. So 1 over 4. So this would be negative 2 times 1 over 4. What should I do next? Multiply. So this negative 2 is like negative 2 over 1. So when I multiply fractions, I multiply straight across. So negative 2 over 4. And then here, this 2 is like saying 2 over 1, so I multiply straight across. So this would be what? 2 over 2, which simplifies to 1. But I'll do that in the next step. Minus 5. Can I simplify negative 2 over 4? Yeah. Yep, it would be negative 1/2. And can I simplify 2 over 2? Yeah. Yep, that would be 1. So I'd have plus 1 minus 5. What's 1 minus 5? Negative 4. So I would have negative 1/2 minus 4. Now here's the fun part. What do I need when subtracting with fraction? Common denominator. So what can I change 4 to be to have a denominator of 2? Awesome. I'm going to multiply. This is 4 over 1, so I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So this becomes 8 over 2. So it would be negative 1/2 minus 8 over 2. Now when subtracting fractions, you just subtract the top and the bottom stays the same. So it's negative 1 minus 8. Negative 9 over 2. So this would be negative 9 over 2 for our y. So when it's a fraction, it's a little bit more work, but not something that we don't know how to do. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. If you add fractions, add or subtract, you need a same denominator. Does our graph open up or open down here? How do we know that it opens down? A is negative, so it opens down. So I'm using negative b over 2a. What is my a? 2. And what's my b? 0. Remember, b is what's in front of the x, and here I don't have an x all by itself. So b is 0. 5 would be the c, which we don't really use for anything here. So a is 2, b is 0. So I have negative 0 over 2 times 2. So negative 0 over 4. What's negative 0 over 4 simplify to? 0. Whenever 0 is on top, the whole thing is 0. So I have x is equal to 0 as my axis of symmetry. So what's the first number in my vertex? 0. How do I find the second number? Plug in 0 for x. So I have 2 times 0 squared plus 5. Still have to follow your order of operations, so PEMDAS. So parentheses, exponents, what's 0 squared? 0. So 2 times 0 plus 5. What do I have to do next? Bless you. I did. I'll go back to it. What do I have to do next? I have 2 times 0 plus 5, so I have to multiply. So 2 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 5? 5. So my vertex is 0, 5. Does my graph open up or open down here? Is my A positive or negative? Positive. So what does that mean? It opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. So same way that we found out before, if our graph opens up or opens down, we look at that A value. We do it here too. So the A tells us if it opens up or opens down. All right, so what formula do we use to find our axis of symmetry? Negative B over 2A. So we have to figure out what our A is and what our B is. What's our A? Negative 1. And what's our B? So it should be negative 4x. So our B is what? Negative 4. So here, this would be negative 4 over 2 times negative 1. So just be careful when your A's and B's are negative. Make sure you plug those negative signs in too. On top, if you have a negative times a negative, what does that turn into? Positive. So it becomes positive 4. And then what's 2 times negative 1? Negative 2. So what's 4 divided by negative 2? Negative 2. So my axis of symmetry is x is equal to negative 2. So what's the first number in my vertex? Negative 2. How do I find the second number? Plug in negative 2 for x. So I have negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2. So I have to follow my order of operations. What should I do first? Do I have any math going on inside the parentheses? No. So what should I do next? Exponent. So it's negative 2 squared. Negative 2 times negative 2 would be 4. And then the negative out front makes it a negative 4. And then what's negative 4 times negative 2? Positive 8. Yes. And what's negative 4 plus 8? That's 4. 4. So my y would be 4. Does my graph open up or open down here? How do you know it opens down? Because A is negative, so it opens down.